Today we will be installing the garbage disposal. Hi everybody, I'm Jim Dirdorf and this is Detroit DIY. Let's get rolling. I'm going to install the strainer and the flange for the garbage disposal before I install the sink. It's very important that you get the correct plumber's putty for the sink that you have. If you have a stainless steel sink, they have non-staining. If you have a granite sink, they have plumber's putty for that. And we're going to use this around the inside edge of the sink, and I'll show you how to do that. What I wanted to show with this flange for the garbage disposal is this ring that you have to remove and reinstall, and it kind of holds everything in place. Then it allows this to come off, and then everything comes off and you can put your flange in. So the plumber's putty, what we want to do is get a little ball of this. It's kind of tough. And we want to roll it into a rope. It can be fairly thin. In fact, we want it thin. So then what we're going to do with this is we're going to put it around the opening in the sink. Just like that. Then we're going to insert the flange. The gasket that is here goes on the bottom of the sink. So this is going to go in like this. I'm going to line it up real nice so that the lettering is nice and straight. Give it a little push in there. Then I'm going to install the gasket. This flange. This flange. Then my ring goes back on. So I'm going to need to hold it in from this side while I put this ring back on. There we have it. Now I'm just going to check my alignment inside and make sure that the flange is straight as far as the writing on it, where it has the name of the disposal, and tighten these screws. You want to tighten the screws nice and evenly so that, and the position of this doesn't matter because the garbage disposal locking ring, you can position the garbage disposal in any way and then the locking ring locks it on. So you just want to go from screw to screw and snug it up. it nice and tight. And I will recheck that in a little bit. So now the plumber's putty is kind of oozed out in a couple of spots. And all we're going to do is just break it off and take it away. I've removed the cord from my old garbage disposal and I'm going to get it hooked up in this new one. I have the luxury of having a plug under the cabinet it's a switch plug rather than having it hardwired where I would have to lay underneath and try to wire it while it's installed. So what we're going to do is remove this cover. Like so. Then this is already threaded for the 1/2-inch electrical fitting. So we'll just screw that right in there. Unfortunately, it's bumping into my housing a little bit. There we go. I'm going to feed the 3 wires through here. Here with my finger. Pull them out through here. So you get all 3 of them. There they are. And just feed it in a little bit so you have enough room to work. And we're going to tighten this down on the wire. Not super tight, just tight enough to hold it in place so that a tug won't disconnect your connections. I'll tighten that one in a minute. Then we need to fish around in here and find the wires. So there they are. We're going to connect the green wire to this green screw. That's our ground. Kind of get everything out of the way, make sure they're not looped around each other. I think I have the worst view, so you can have the best. Oh, well, that didn't get on there very good, did it? There we go. The screw got a little snug. I thought it was tight. There we go. Now the white wire is going to go to white. We're going to give them a little twist in a counterclockwise direction. And then we're going to install the wire nut. Now you do kind of want to give everything a little tug and make sure that it's in there good. Not necessarily pull on it, but just to make sure they're good. Tuck them in there. Put our cover on. Since that screw's fighting me a little bit, I'll tighten that up in a minute. Now we want to, if we have a dishwasher, there's a plug in here for people that don't, so that they can still use the garbage disposal with nothing hooked on here. Since we do, we need to knock this plug out of the way. And we're going to do that with a screwdriver and tap on it with the hammer around the outside edges. They pop out pretty easy. Now we're going to make sure we retrieve that from inside the disposal, and there it is. Alright, we're going to get this thing put up. Okay, we're getting ready to install this disposal. They give you this handy little wrench with it, and just in case you didn't know, if the disposal ever gets stuck, you can put the wrench in here and you can turn it manually. Also right here is a breaker, so if it becomes clogged and you keep hitting the switch and then it quits working, you need to reset the breaker. Also, we're going to use this wrench and this top flange to install it. And this is the lock ring that will spin to lock it into place. Now we want to point the plumbing the same way it was for your old one, and if you didn't have one in the past and you're installing for the first time, you would want to point it towards this other sink if you have a double sink. If not, then you would use a different disposal. And this is probably the most difficult part because there's no room. I got aggravated while I was putting in the garbage disposal, and I had to turn the camera off so I could cuss at it and finally get it on. So what I've decided to do is the old garbage disposal, I'm going to show you here how the locking rings work and why it fights you like it was fighting me. What it was doing was one tab would lock on but not the other two, or I got two tabs to lock on but not the third one. And it gets heavy. It's 7-10 pounds, whatever it is, but it's hard to hold up and put the locking ring on. So this is the collar that would be mounted in the sink. So this would be the top side of the sink, and this is what the disposal would mount to. And the seal of the disposal fits tight against the bottom of that. Then the locking tabs have to be lined up in such a manner that each tab is right here by the screw that holds it in place. So when you lift it into place, you can get these collars to lock on. You can see it starting to lock onto the ramped piece right there. And what happens is sometimes with only one hand, not every collar locks on, just like what happened here. This one's locked on, ready to go. This one missed. This one also missed. As you can see, it is not locked on either. And that's what happens sometimes when you're installing them, and then when you try to let go of it, the whole thing just kind of goes like that and tries to lean out. So doing it with one hand is a little bit of a chore, because you kind of have to try and lift the whole thing up nice and level and make sure this is seated in there all the way that it's supposed to be. So it does get a little bit tough to lock it on with one hand, and when you're trying to lift everything and to get it to go and lock into place. And they could fight you. They'll definitely fight you. So let me set the camera down so I can have two hands here, and we'll successfully spin it on there. So that's what you want, is every tab going on to the incline. Then when you tighten this, it pulls it down tight against the seal and hold it into place. It's simple in design by nature, but it is hard to get all three of them started sometimes. So that is exactly how that works. Next time, I'll try not to get aggravated and have to cuss it out, but it helped. It went on. So anyway, just wanted to throw this in there and let you see that how that gets installed. Now I need to figure out my plumbing, because these sinks are deeper and the drains sit back further in the bottoms of the sink than my old sink. So I'm gonna get some stuff laid in here, figure it out, and then I'll be back. Okay, there's not a ton of room in here, so this is kind of hard to film. But this end of the pipe with the little flange on it goes in the garbage disposal. So, just like so. Then there's a clamp that goes on right here that holds it in place. So what I like to do is take my little level and make sure that it's slightly downhill or level, but definitely not uphill. And then I mark my pipe. I've already marked this one and cut it to the appropriate height by doing the same thing, by bypassing the two pipes. So I'm going to get this one cut and get it in here. Then my next problem is this drain pipe. It is sticking out too far. I'm going to have to cut that off and move it back a little bit. And I may have a little bit of a height issue here to deal with. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, I got everything figured out here. I need to glue this adapter on. This adapts 1.5 inch standard PVC to 1.5 inch drain pipe PVC. I wound up having to cut about 6 inches off of my drain pipe going out of the wall. So what I need to do is, I already primed this one. I need to prime this and then glue it on. This is messy. And we're going to go ahead and get some glue on this side. A little bit of glue here. And put it on. This is the pipe that goes to the dishwasher and to the garbage disposal. So I need to put my clamp on for the rubber boot. I need to put a nut on this direction and a washer, and the tapered side goes towards your fitting. And I'll slide that in there. Now I need to do the same thing here, is put the nut in the tapered washer. And this end just pops right into the garbage disposal. Like that. And then I slide it up on there. Now when I marked this earlier, I marked it right on the outside. I add 3/4 of an inch to that mark because that's how deep the fitting is on both sides when I mark both sides. So now we're gonna hold this in place, push this right up there. And tighten this up. Now I'm gonna put this clamp on there. There we go. Now this is the pipe that goes into the wall here, and I need to do the same thing with that. I need to put a nut on it and a rubber washer. I want to slide this in there a little ways, just kind of get it out of my way for a minute. Alright. So now, the same thing for our trap. We'll get the trap in place. And we'll pull this out to meet it. So before I snug that up, oops. I need 2 nuts on here. I need one this way, and I need one the opposite direction. And the fiber washer. When you cut these, it's important that you take some sandpaper and clean that up real nice. So everything was cut with a hacksaw. So now it's just a matter of tightening everything up. Now, the same wrench that I used to put the strainer basket on has this wrench on the other end of it. And that is for this nut on the bottom of the strainer basket. So we need to tighten that. Alright, that's all there is to it. I'm going to finish tightening a couple things up here, and then I'm going to get the dishwasher back in and get it all hooked up. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, want to watch some more, click on one of those 2 videos. They're going to pop up right there. I'd like to give a special thanks to Tony Iaconelli and Brett Wimmer, because none of this could happen without them.